Well, greetings and salutations, my coven, and welcome back to the channel here. I'm John Campea, here to talk about the new first two episodes of Agatha All Along that has just debuted on Disney+. We're going to talk about if you guys have some thought, theories, opinions, questions, observations, go ahead and use the super chat feature and fire those in. We'll get to those a little bit later. But I thought we'd spend some time here talking about the first two episodes for Agatha that dropped. Now, I'll give you a little bit of background here, okay? So, like for me, and I know for a lot of you guys too, shows on Disney Plus are a very hit and miss proposition. Right? So we get Mandalorian and we get Andor and we get WandaVision, which is the best thing they've ever put out. But we also get Secret Invasion. And we also get Echo. And we also get the Book of Boba Fett. And we also get The Acolyte. You know, things that are not so good. Ahsoka and whatever. So, now, I am personally not really looking forward to much coming out on Disney+. Like, I'm really not looking forward to Wonder Man. Good trailers can change my mind. I'm really not looking forward to Ironheart. Good trailers can change my mind. But the one thing I've been excited about has been Agatha All Along. Because I love WandaVision. It's got the same showrunner as WandaVision did. So Jack Schaefer, who made the best series on Disney Plus, is making this. I love Catherine Hahn. I love the character of Agatha. So I've kind of been on board. I've liked the trailers we've seen, but you never know what you're going to get with Disney Plus, right? Like you never know. I was excited for Acolyte. Wah, wah. Look how that turned out. So you never know what you're going to get. And then I got really worried. Last week when we found out that the full review embargo was not dropping until today. That's a giant red flag for me. Now, of course, then they ended up putting out the social media reactions a few days early, but still. So my enthusiasm's been on a little bit of a roller coaster ride. I really quite liked what we got in episodes 1 and 2. I really enjoyed it. Now, would I say I enjoyed on the same level as like WandaVision? No, I wouldn't say that yet. Did I enjoy it on the same level as Andor? No. Did I enjoy it on the same level as, say, the first season of Mandalorian? No. But I put it right up there, like with, say, Mandalorian Season 2, Ms. Marvel, which I enjoyed a lot. I enjoyed Ms. Marvel a lot. Loki, that sort of thing. So far, 2 episodes in, I think we've got a pretty good winner. Now, here's the catch, though, right? Here's the catch. Is that with even some of the really bad Disney Plus shows that we've gotten, Disney Plus shows can sometimes start pretty strong and then really lose it. I thought Obi-Wan started strong, didn't end so well. I thought The Acolyte start was, I'm not going to say The Acolyte start was strong, but I thought The Acolyte start was okay. And then it kind of went downhill, right? So starting strong isn't really Disney's problem. That's never really been their big Achilles heels, their ability to start strong. They can start strong. But listen, that's all we can ask. We got the first 2 episodes, and I thought they were really quite good. I really enjoyed them. When the first episode ended, I was very enthusiastic about clicking the next episode, and Ray watched it with me, and Ray and I will talk a little bit more in depth, or at least a little bit more in a non-spoiler way about it on the show tomorrow. But like even when the second episode ended, this is how you know it's keeping people's attention. Because number one, Ray didn't fall asleep. That's a big thing. That's a big thing. So Ray didn't fall asleep. And number 2, when the episode 2 ended, he was like, oh, they should have launched with 3 episodes, right? Which is saying something. That's saying something pretty good. Anyway, so as far as all we can judge right now is the first 2 episodes. Who knows if they'll stay strong or if they'll, start to go downhill after this. But I thought the first 2 episodes were quite good. You know what I loved? There's a couple things I like. There's a couple things that were questionable and a couple things that I loved. One of the things that I loved, I love that right off the bat, like right from the start of the show, they go back to the WandaVision Hex TV, living in a TV show kind of loop, right? That they went, because I didn't realize they were doing that. Like, we saw the trailer with Agatha thinking she was a cop. So I just thought, watching the trailers, and maybe some of you guys felt this too, watching the I thought that it was just, Wanda took away her memory and she kind of restarted her life in Westview as a cop. It took me a few minutes to realize that no, she's living in Mare of Easttown. And now maybe not all of you saw Mare of Easttown. You totally should, because it also has the guy who played Ralph Boner. He was the co-lead, like the male lead in Mare of Easttown. Anyway, she was totally living in a Mare of Easttown knockoff series. And once that clicked in with me, I was eating it up, because that was one of the really great things about WandaVision. Evan Peters, thank you, Nick. That's it. Yeah. So Evan Peters, who was in WandaVision, was also one of the main guys, got nominated for an Emmy Award, actually, for being in Mare of Easttown. And again, yeah, once that clicked into me that she's living in one of those Hex shows, I was like, yep, this is, because I loved Mare of Easttown, right? And as they're playing through it, I thought it was just delightful and really good. And then you start to see and recognize, like, as soon as she shows up at the crime scene and that the cop is there, I'm like, what? Wait a minute. Wasn't that that's when I clued in, is when she got out of the car at the crime scene and like her neighbor was, I'm like, wasn't that her neighbor? But I wasn't 100% sure that was him. And then when she got back to the precinct and the chief showed up, it's like, well, that's the guy from WandaVision. And then you start to recognize other people from Wanda. It's like, oh, she's living in a Hex still. And I thought it was great. Aubrey Plaza, as always, is wonderful. I love Aubrey Plaza, seeing her play like this. By the way, I don't know if any of you guys saw this, but at the big carpet premiere event for Agatha, a bunch of the cast of Parks and Recreation showed up to support Aubrey Plaza and Catherine Hahn, because of course they were both in Parks and Rec. Aubrey Plaza was a series lead, and Catherine Hahn was a recurring character. Anyway, so it was really cool to see the Parks and Rec people show up to support them. That aside, so Aubrey Plaza was great. I love the fight scene between Aubrey Plaza and Catherine Hahn. I thought that was really good. I also couldn't believe it when Catherine Hahn comes walking out of her house nude. I couldn't believe it when Catherine Hahn comes walking out of her house. It was so funny. Like, the neighbor's like, you're naked. Like, I just thought that was great. And then I couldn't believe it when she turns around to run back to the house, and I thought, oh, this is where they're going to have like him lift some of his hedging tools that will conveniently block out her butt, but they actually showed her bare ass as she's running across the thing, going to that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that might be the most risque thing the MCU's ever done. Like, there was the sexy time scene in Eternals. Remember, they had the sexy time scene in Eternals, but like, you don't see any crack and you don't see any nip. And so, right? No crack, no nip, not that bad. But in this, Catherine Hahn is running bare ass across the street, which I thought was really quite funny. I like the kid, teen. I love that she just refers to him as teen. And I loved that visual tool that they used, that whenever she asked him, like, I thought it was very creative when she goes, what's your name? And he speaks, but like, you get kind of like this, like stitches kind of animate across his mouth and then disappear. And then whenever he's trying to give actual information about himself, she's unable to hear it and all. I thought that was very creative and a great way to build the mystery. So what we've got here is, and Randolph was pointing out Evan Peters actually won the Emmy for Mare of Easttown. I knew he was nominated. I forgot that he won. So thank you for pointing that out. So we instantly, just like when we went back to that whole Hex TV trope from WandaVision, we instantly get the mystery. The fan theories, let them run. And we've already seen a lot of theories, even in today's live chat. Like I'm looking at tonight's live chat. A lot of people think he's Wiccan. I don't think so. Number one, him being Wiccan or Billy makes no logical sense whatsoever. And it would also be just way too convenient and all that kind of stuff. But again, there are some things that line up, but it almost seems to me like that would just be too obvious. Then there are a lot of people that have restoked the Mephisto thing, that he's actually Mephisto. Okay, that's a possibility too. I think it's going to be somebody else. I think it's going to be somebody else. You know what? I think it's going to be somebody that none of us are suspecting right now. Now, that being said, Elias is saying it's Wanda's kid. Wanda doesn't have a kid. Let me repeat that. Wanda does not have a kid. Her kids were figments of her imagination made manifest through magic and then disappeared like vision because they weren't real. But anyway, I say all that, but keep this in mind. When WandaVision first came out, and some of you will remember this, and it started to become clear that Catherine Hahn's character was somebody. A bunch of people theorized that she could be Agatha Harkness. I said no because I thought it was a little too, I thought making her Agatha Harkness was a little too obvious, right? I thought, that's too obvious. It's too obvious. So they're not going to do that. And lo and behold, she ended up being Agatha Harkness. So, like, I don't think it's at all going to be Wiccan or anything like that, because I think that's a little too on the nose, and like everybody's going to be suspecting that already. And there are a few things that line up with it, but I have to call myself out because in WandaVision, I kind of thought the same thing with the same logic that Catherine Hahn can't be Agatha Harkness. It's too obvious that it would be Agatha Harkness. It's got to be somebody else. And lo and behold, it ended up being Agatha Harkness. So who knows? We'll have to see. I still don't think it's Mephisto, and I still don't think it's Billy or Wiccan or what. I don't think it's one of Wanda's imaginary kids. I have a feeling it's going to be, I have no idea. But see, that's the thing. I don't have any idea right now who else it could be. Like, it's not Steve Rogers in a younger body. It's not Quicksilver reincarnated. It's, I just have no idea right now. Again, some people are still saying it's her son. Like, are you saying Agatha's son? Because remember, in the episode, Agatha goes into that room where it was clear she had a child. Right? Granted, she was still living in her Mare of Easttown vision, but she goes into that room and clearly it used to be a child's room, and that child is now gone. So maybe we find out that teen is actually Agatha's kid. That wouldn't be the stupidest thing in the world. It would be interesting. Something we didn't know about the character before. So yeah, you never know. Could be that. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see about all that. Okay. So then we get to the end of episode 1. And the hex is broken. She's brought out of it. I love the transition, by the way, as she starts to go through her various manifestations from WandaVision, like from the 70s workout to the business lady to black and white and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was a brilliant way to do the transition. I love the fact that the body on the table was Wanda. Again, kind of re-emphasized, because remember they said it looks like she was crushed. And of course we know Wanda died because she was crushed under the mountain. And she wasn't brought here just because there's no footprints. It looks like her body was just here. And it looks like the dirt under her thumbnails are from mountains in Europe. And then of course the scarlet hair and the tag comes out, W Maximoff. So they're kind of re-emphasizing again that Wanda's dead. Although could she return? So they kind of end episode 1 with the breaking of the hex and all that kind of stuff. Then you get into episode 2 with the assembling of the coven. And I got to tell you guys, I love the coven. I love it. I loved every single one. I like the older lady that they find first. that's clearly got some mental issues going on. I love the candle lady. I thought she was really funny. I love the, the daughter of the Blood Witch. She's the cop, or was a cop, and all that kind of stuff. I love that. And then I even love that they go, what's the lady's name from that 70s show? What's the actress's name? They call her Heart and all that kind of stuff. Clearly, she's probably not. Obviously, Aubrey Plaza is supposed to be the witch. It's supposed to be part of their coven, but still. Deborah Jo Rupp. Thank you, J. Samara NYC. Deborah Jo Rupp. I loved her in it. Like at the end, as they're going down the stairs to the Witch's Road, she starts singing the song like a little bit late. I thought that was all great. I love the coven. I think they're great. I cannot wait to watch their dynamic, because we only got a few minutes of their interaction dynamic, and I loved it. I was eating it up. I thought that part was really great. And then they get to the Witch's Road. They take off their shoes. They start to, and oh my God, by the way, Ray had a physical reaction to the Salem 7. When the 7 witches show up at the house and they give you that first close-up of her face, Ray had Ray was on the couch and literally jumped back when they did the shot of the Salem 7's face, and they do all those very traditional witchy kind of things with them. I thought that was freaky as hell. I thought that was done very, very, very well. I thought that was great. So anyway, that all happens. They get down on the Witch's Road. I love the symbolism. They take off their shoes and they start to go down the road. And I kind of expected to hear, "Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road." I kind of expected to hear that, but they did not. All right. Let me get to kind of the main highlight, though, of the second episode to me. It was the song. The song was great. And all I could think about and I put it up on my Instagram a little bit earlier, I said, Agatha Coven song 1,000 times better than the Acolyte Coven song. Like, totally night and day difference. Totally all that kind of stuff. The song was great and it sounded great. And if you guys remember, any of you guys who watch D23, if you watch the D23 stream, you guys remember that when they talked about Agatha All Along, the cast actually came out singing the song, which I thought was really, really good. So yeah, I thought, yeah, I just got to tell you guys, and then the way it ends with them going down the road and all that kind of stuff. How many shows in a row on Disney Plus have I been disappointed by? I think the last one, Acolyte, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Secret Invasion. Honestly, I don't think I've really liked a Disney Plus show since like Loki season 2 and Andor. I can't remember what came last, Andor or Loki season 2. My dates get all mixed up, but yeah, I've been disappointed with a lot of the Disney Plus stuff lately, and maybe I'll become disappointed with Agatha All Along as we get into episodes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like maybe it falls off, but I got to tell you guys, for me, I think this is one of the best things Disney Plus has put out in a bit. Again, I don't put what we've seen so far on the same level as WandaVision, Andor, Mandalorian season 1, but right now, only 2 episodes in, and I reserve the right to change my positioning of it. But right now, I'd put it on the same level as like a Mandalorian season 2, a Ms. Marvel, a Loki. I kind of put it right there. So not here, but I put it right about there right now, which for me, just considering how disappointed I've been with so much Echo and everything, how much I've been disappointed with Disney Plus stuff lately. Again, in the last couple of years, I think only, in the last couple of years, like after Ms. Marvel, Andor and Loki season 2. I think almost everything else I've been disappointed with on like the other 4 or 5 things that have come out since I've been disappointed by, but this looks pretty good. and I am on board with it right now. I really like what I've seen. I hope we get to see more of the cast of, like, somehow, some way that maybe she's metaphysically tied to Westview, and that we'll see the inhabitants, the denizens of Westview down on the Witch's Road more, like manifestations of them or something like that. It's going to be great to see what types of challenges, because it kind of looks like on its surface, like this is a road movie, a buddy road movie, right? Except instead of driving across the country, they're going to be going down the Witch's Road. And to come and see all the challenges they're going to come across. Again, maybe the show will start to get worse from here, and we just saw the 2 best episodes. Maybe that'll be it. But right now, I think it's pretty damn good. I think it's pretty damn good. And by the way, I'm not the only one, right? Like, clearly Aubrey Plaza and Agatha, I'm just going to call Aubrey Plaza Blackheart right now. Obviously, Blackheart, am I the only one? Blackheart and Agatha were lovers at one point, right? Like, that was the anger of a jilted lover kind of anger. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of the energy I got. So we'll see what happens as they progress on down from that. All right, guys. With that down, I'm going to start taking questions from you. Do you have theories, thoughts, opinions, observations about any of the stuff that we've seen here in this show so far? If so, go ahead and fire that in on the I'll go through the super chats first, and we'll see what we got. So let's get things started here. We'll start off with, I think, Christopher Brickner. Christopher Brickner writes, I thought it was a decent start with the first 2 episodes. It got me interested in the later episodes and back half as we travel down the Witch's Road. And you know what, Christopher, that's the thing. That's all I was looking for going into the first 2 episodes. I wasn't going in expecting the world. I mean, Disney Plus has pretty much lowered my expectations quite a bit when it comes to the stuff that we get on Disney Plus. But I was just thinking, like, just make it interesting. And they kind of exceeded my expectations. Again, my expectations weren't super high, but they exceeded my expectations. And you're right. The first 2 episodes did what they need to do. They got me invested to keep watching. Right? They got me invested to keep watching. Unlike, say, a Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power Season 1. Season 2 has been a lot better, but that's neither here nor there. But unlike, say, Rings of Power Season 1, where I would finish an episode and go, oh God, I guess it's 3 more days till I gotta watch the next episode, right? This was different. The job of these first couple of episodes was simply make me interested. Make me want to watch the next episode. Make me interested in seeing what comes next. And they were able to pull that part off, and I'm pretty damn happy that they did. All right. Let's move on here. Let's see. That was Christopher Brickner. Next up is Sam Fisher, who writes, is Sam Fisher the next one up? Yep. Sam Fisher is the next one up. Who writes, I love that the dialogue in the murder mystery bit was so cliche, schlocky, and exposition heavy that it was basically a parody of Mayor of Easttown. That's exactly what I was saying. Like, they, once we started to meet the supporting characters, once we met the other detective and the chief, then it became clear, okay, we're dealing with that she's in a hex. She's in a television show, and that clearly it was the Mayor of Easttown. I ate that up. I'm not going to lie to you. I totally ate that part up. I thought it was really enjoyable. And I love that Catherine Hahn kind of hammed it up a bit for those parts, which I thought was great. So yeah, I personally really enjoyed that too. All right. Next up, we got Marie Seifring, who writes, it's novel, kind of a Wizard of Oz into the Woods horror/musical. Definitely a big swing. I liked it. You know, it's interesting that you say it's kind of a big swing, because I think one would be tempted to look at this show as a safe bet. Okay, you know what? just take a secondary character from a popular show we did and just kind of put her in her own little mystery thing. It kind of, I think you can look at Agatha and them doing Agatha maybe as playing it safe. But I agree, they're taking big swings here with this. And we're only 2 episodes in. And I appreciate that. The fact that you got a musical number, the fact that they're using the trope they used in WandaVision, revisiting all that kind of stuff, bringing in Aubrey Plaza, introducing the witchcraft, a little bit of horror elements to it as well. Whether or not they knock it out of the park, we'll find out in episodes 3 through 9. But they are at least clearly swinging big. I mean, that much is for sure, Marie. They are definitely swinging big. And let's see if they connect. All right. Next up, Suthius writes, whoever is or was the guardian of the teen clearly does not want anybody to know who he is. Very interesting. Also interesting that he doesn't know. That is not what I got from that at all, Suthius. I think anybody else standing around would be able to hear the teen talking and the teen saying what he's saying. And I think he knows very well who he is. My interpretation, and I could be right or wrong, my interpretation is that Agatha is the only one who can't. It's like the hex isn't on him, the hex is on her. He knows who he is. He said his name. He was describing things about his background, but Agatha can't hear it. So I think there's a hex on her to kind of be cursed to not know who he is. But I have a feeling that anybody else standing around hearing it would hear it. Now, again, I could be wrong about that. That's just my interpretation of it. But I think he very clearly knows who he is. It's just that she doesn't. And I don't. And we are, of course, living vicariously through Agatha and that. So we as the audience aren't going to know for a while either. But hopefully we find out sooner rather than later. All right. Thanks, Suthius. Next up, Mike Farino writes, Aubrey could also be a sister. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking jilted lover. But if memory serves me correctly, and guys, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Agatha kills her mother, doesn't she? Like, I know she kills the head of their coven in WandaVision. It's been a couple of years since I've seen WandaVision. But is the head of their coven also her mother? Did Agatha kill her own mother? Late Night alum in the live chat is saying she did. Okay, so if we're remembering that right, and that was her mother that she killed, if she has a sister, that would explain why Aubrey Plaza would be so pissed, because you killed mom. You killed my mom. So, okay, look, I'll say this, Mike. I'm going to stick with the jilted lover theory, but sister is feasible. Sister's feasible. So yeah, maybe we'll see. I'll stick with jilted lover, but sister is feasible. Okay. Next up, R. Henry, 1980 writes, did you notice that was Wanda's signature across his mouth? You know, a buddy of mine, Ryan, for those of you who follow me on social media, he's the guy that everybody always thinks is Ben Affleck in my pictures. But anyway, Ryan was over watching WandaVision with me and Ray, and he said that when that kind of thing went across his mouth, so he thought, was that an M or a W? And I said, I think it was meant to look like stitching. I thought it was meant to look like stitching. I didn't interpret it as any kind of a letter or writing. I thought it was just animated stitching. Now, I could be wrong. Keith Abbott is saying M for Mephisto. I could be wrong, but I don't think it was writing out anything. I mean, maybe it was, but you know, I just don't think it was. You could be right. You know what? Now everybody's going to go back to their thing and slow motion through. It's like, was that forming a letter? I still think it was just meant to look like stitching of some kind. So again, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. All right. Let's see here. The next up is Angelo B. Music writes, glad this doesn't connect to Avengers news stories. Well, one of the things that Kevin Feige suggested was that the television stuff is going to become more and more isolated from the movie stuff. Like, it all still happens in the same universe, yes, but that the stories on Disney Plus are going to be more standalone. So that's not to say that you can't have a show and that a consequence of that show can't play into one of the movies. Like, let's say for argument's sake that Wanda comes back in Agatha All Along. Well, then you can drop Wanda back into the movie. So there's a consequence in the show that then goes there. But the way Kevin Feige described it, it sounded like they're not going to have interconnecting stories so much, right? That they are going to be in the same universe, yes, but not necessarily connected. But we'll see how that plays out as the show goes on. All right, next up, we got Mashby, who writes, good evening, John. Good evening, Mashby. Mashby writes, good evening. I thought it was interesting to notice that an anagram, Andrew Hugo, was Wundagore. Oh, are we leading back there and to Chthon, or are we overreaching in a Marvel Disney show? Well, look, she already discovered that one of the things that the first letter, the anagram was Darkhold, right? They already made mention of the mountain in Europe. So that's not far-fetched. Now, it also could just be as a cute Easter egg, right? It could also be in there because Marvel has done that. They did that in WandaVision as well. It could just be that they kind of planted that in there as a fun little Easter egg that maybe means something, maybe doesn't mean anything. But, I mean, clearly they are referencing stuff. They're referencing things that happen. Wanda getting crushed in the mountain in Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness is clearly referenced in the show. So it could be. I mean, it absolutely could be. I don't think that's far-fetched. I don't think it's overreaching. Now, that doesn't mean they'll do anything with it, and it doesn't mean there'll be any repercussions of that being the case. It could just be there and be a thing, right? That doesn't actually end up having anything to do with what happens in the story. Right? They mention Wundagore. They mention that she was crushed. They mention in Europe, which is, of course, where Wundagore was. So who knows? We'll see if it actually ends up having any consequences. All right. A couple more. We've got Chris Elkins writes, I like the first 2 episodes. Now let's see if they can keep it going. See here, Chris, that's the thing. That's why you don't see me getting super excited. Because I did quite enjoy the first 2 episodes. But I've been down this witch's road before with Disney Plus. We all have. I mean, like even Book of Boba Fett, the first episode was pretty good, and that thing went to crap. The first episode of Acolyte wasn't all, well, I mean, I wouldn't say it was good, but it wasn't all that bad. And then it went to crap. I mean, we've seen Disney start strong on their Disney Plus stuff. We've seen them start strong and then finish week before. And I just can't get myself too terribly excited about a really quite solid first couple of episodes. I can't get myself too excited about it because we've been burned. So I'm going to take a quality, solid first 2 episodes as a win. I'm going to enjoy that we have that. I'm going to give it its flowers that they did a lot right in the first 2 episodes. But for now, I am not going to get too terribly excited about it. Like, enjoyed it, had a good time, looking forward to seeing episode 3. But until you give me a solid episode, I'll say 3, 4, and 5, I'm not going to get excited like the way I did with WandaVision or Mandalorian or stuff like that. You got to show me that there's going to be some consistency. They're going to have to show me that they can build as the show goes. Starting strong, isn't the hard part. Starting strong isn't the hard part. And hey, full kudos. They've started pretty strong. They've started solid. But that's not where they stumble usually. They don't stumble at the start. They usually stumble once you get into the meat of the show, and then particularly towards the end. So if they can keep the quality level up for episodes like 3 and 4, respectively, at that point, I'll let my enthusiasm start to build a little bit. Just right now, I can't get terribly excited about it. Let's see what happens after episodes 3 and 4. All right. Next up, we've got Reverend Eng, who writes, quality seems much better than Acolyte so far. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not going to go into a full autopsy on the Acolyte again. I'll just say this. The problems with the Acolyte and what made it such a horrible show was not that, oh, there were girls, like so many fucking losers say. The problem with the Acolyte was it fumbled the ball on the fundamentals of basic storytelling. They had weak dialogue. It's, you know, I heard the guys, it's been said other places too, but the guys from South Park, they did like a writer's symposium this one time. And they said, here's the difference between like bad writers and good writers. Bad writers write, this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. Trey Parker and his partner, they said, what good writers do is they write, this happens, therefore this happens, therefore this happens. And they said, and they're right, you can really tell the difference in reading a script where a writer is just writing, this happens, then this happens, and this happens, this happens, and a script that was written in the spirit and in the form of this happens, therefore this happens, therefore this happens. And when you're watching The Acolyte, you could just see the basic fundamentals. No character depth. Every character, you could fully understand each character in that show in a 2-sentence byline. I just watched Transformers 1. Awesome movie. And even then, robots. You had development and depth with all the characters. D16, aka Megatron, Orion Pax, aka Optimus Prime, Sentinel Prime, B, everything. The characters had depth and they had different layers and they evolved and they had a character journey for all of them. In Acolyte, the characters were just, once you meet them for a second, you know all you need to know about that character. The dialogue was weak. All the scenes felt like this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. The mystery had no meat to it. And ultimately, the mystery was, wait a minute. So this whole cover-up, this whole mystery, this whole deep, dark secret was really just about a misunderstanding? Like one dude, the baby-faced old guy, put himself in a force cocoon for 10 years or however long because there were, granted, some dumb things were done, but because of a misunderstanding. You see, you're watching that show and you just can feel it immediately that they did not know how to write. I'm sure they're better writers than me, but I'm not the standard of excellence, am I? So anyway, again, I'm not here to do a full autopsy on Acolyte. What I'm just saying is that even just 2 episodes in to WandaVision, totally different level, or WandaVision, of Agatha All Along, it's a totally different level of writing. The characters have prime motivations based on different layers to their character development. Each one of them you can see is going to be on a journey and a path. They have an established past that is informing their motivations as to why they're moving forward. And the sequence of the storytelling goes, this happens, therefore this happens, which leads to this happening, which therefore this happens. You can feel the difference just in 2 episodes. We are watching a different level of show than what, say, Book of Boba Fett or The Acolyte or Secret Invasion or Echo was. You can feel you can just tell there's better writers on this show. That doesn't mean it's going to go completely great for the rest of it. Maybe it falls apart. I don't know. But at least it feels like a much higher quality show, much better writing. The flow of the show is much better. You know, I heard some people saying that it starts slow. I disagree. I didn't feel, this felt like it had a really nice pace to it. I enjoyed the flow of the narrative. I thought it was moving along at a really nice cadence. Whatever, that's just me. But we'll see if they're able to maintain that as they move forward. All right, guys, and that's all. I've turned off the super chats, by the way. That's all the time we have for super chats. I'm now just going to go over to the live chat here and see if you guys have any thoughts, anything you'd like to say. Unfortunately, my little extension thing is not working where I can normally you guys know I can bring up your comments on the screen here. Unfortunately, that little plugin of mine isn't working right now. I got to get that fixed. Sorry about it. But I'll look to see if you guys have some thoughts in here and see what you have to say. Red Arrow saying, I think it's Wanda's son. Again, Wanda's son does not exist. Anyway, and he wants to walk the road to bring back Wanda. Maybe Wanda's spell included some protection for her kids so she can't hear his name for who he is. Again, Wanda's kids do not exist. They were never real. They were figments of her imagination that were manifested in her hex like Vision was, and then she turned off the hex. And then went on a multiverse kind of quest to maybe find a universe where her kids do exist, but her kids do not exist in this world. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I am JMS writes, do you think Wanda appears here? You know what? I'm still going to say no, but it's not impossible. Just like the teen being Billy is not impossible. It's just that it would make the problem I have with the teen being Billy again is that it makes no logical sense. There's no, it doesn't work because Wanda doesn't have kids. She does not have kids. That was a figment of her imagination that she manifested in the hex that then disappeared. She doesn't have kids. Her kids didn't exist. They aren't real. So maybe if they come up with something, so it's not impossible. I'm just saying I doubt it. Can Wanda show up? Again, I'm going to say no, but the fact that there's so many references to Wanda, I definitely, look, I'll say no, but I wouldn't bet money against it. How's that? I'll say no, Wanda doesn't show up, but I would not put money against it. All right, Keith Abbott is writing, over under we get Mephisto by the end of the series. I'm going to say 15%. Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat, but I think they've already said that Mephisto was going to show up in Ironheart. Am I imagining that? Like, was that a thing? I think they said that Mephisto shows up in Ironheart. I could be wrong. Like, I thought it was going to be Sacha Baron Cohen or something. Again, guys, correct me in the live chat. Cosmic Truth is saying correct. Okay. So is Animus and Miguel. They're all saying yes. So I doubt he's showing up in Agatha. But definitely a possibility. Definitely a possibility. All right. Let's see. Chris is saying, if you haven't seen it yet, I highly suggest you go back and watch WandaVision. Oh, yes. If you have not seen WandaVision, don't just go back and watch it so you can better understand what's going on in Agatha. Go and watch it because it's the best show Disney Plus has ever done. At least it's on par with, say, Andor. Well, you know what? So on the Marvel side, Agatha or WandaVision is the best thing they've done. On the Star Wars side, Andor is the best thing they've done. But yes, definitely go back and WandaVision because it's great. Sir Malsum is asking, did the humor land? It did for me. Yeah, the humor landed for me. Again, I don't know why, but like in the last few years, humor has become like a dirty word with a lot of film fans. Oh, I hope they don't try to make it funny. Pardon me while I say paint my fingernails black. Don't try to be funny. Don't put any ha-ha in it. You ruin it if you try to be funny. I don't understand, because it used to be, as film fans we would celebrate when something was funny and something was really good. And it seems like in the last couple of years, like humor being in something's become like a dirty word, like it's a faux pas of some kind. As I apply my black mascara, oh, don't make it funny. But humor is like anything else. Humor is just a tool, and it can be a tool that can be used correctly and well and constructively, or it can be used badly. And sometimes, like in Thor: Love and Thunder, although, look, I fully admit there are scenes in Thor: Love and Thunder that really do make me laugh, but there's also a lot of humor in Thor: Love and Thunder that falls flat, right? Just completely falls flat. And so it's just a tool. So I don't get why people suddenly get turned off. Oh, I hope they don't try to make it funny. Well, yeah, you should try to make it funny. This is based on Marvel comic books. There should be, as Rob would say, there should be joy. There should be fun. Yes, have all the other elements as well, but it should also be fun and entertain us and make us laugh. Anyway, for me personally, and humor is incredibly subjective, but for me, the humor worked really well. I giggled and smiled a lot throughout the movie. I don't know why I laughed so hard, because even Ray and Ryan, who were in the room with me, they didn't laugh as hard as I did. But near the end of the second episode, when Agatha comes home and Teen is already in there and he's hung up like the happy birthday banner, it says, "Welcome, Coven." I don't know. I laughed out loud. I thought that was funny. So yeah, so for me, yes, it did work. Kid is writing, question, did the episodes feel longer? They did. You know what? Here's the thing. I don't know how long the first episode was. I forgot to check, but it definitely felt meatier and longer. Maybe that's because it had better pacing and better cadence. But I felt like I got a full, true episode of a show in episode 1. Again, I'm not quite sure how long it was. I know episode 2 was like 42 or 43 minutes. Again, good pacing, proper cadence. It just felt like a good, and they put enough stuff in it that by the time you got through all of the this happened, therefore this happened, which led to this happening, therefore this happened. Like there was so much of that in the show that by the time I got to the end of it, it felt like an hour-long episode, even though it wasn't. And that's been a weakness with a lot of these Disney Plus shows. Like if they haven't been 30 minutes, and quite often the Disney Plus shows are 30 minutes, but even if they haven't been 30 minutes, they felt like they're 30 minutes because they're not properly paced. They don't have proper cadence. They don't know how to have flow to the narrative. And in this one, at the end of each of the 2 episodes, I felt like we got a true, full, proper episode each time. And I mean this in a good way, they felt like I'd been sitting watching for an hour. It felt like I'd been sitting watching for an hour. So like about 40 minutes. So I think the first 2 episodes have averaged out to be about 40 minutes each. But again, it's just that they're paced so well that it really works. Kareem is asking me, question, favorite moment so far. I think my favorite moment has got to be Agatha transitioning from the mayor of Easttown, or the Agnes of Westview, the mayor of Easttown Hex, back into reality as she went through the different manifestations that she had in WandaVision. The jogger size, the professional, the black and white, and then truly coming out of the Hex. I think for me, that was my favorite moment so far. Darth Daggets is writing post-credit. No, there weren't. Now that's, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think WandaVision had its first post-credit scene till like episode 4 or 5. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, guys, but if I'm remembering it right, I think they didn't do a post-credit scene until like episode 4 or 5. And yeah, Big Daddy saying, I feel like this show will be another Acolyte. Already wrong. Even if the next bunch of episodes are bad, the quality, just the pure filmmaking skill and the writing and the structure and the quality of these first 2 episodes are already better than everything that was done in The Acolyte. Even if all the rest of the season ends up being terrible, the first 2 episodes are already much, much, much better. This is actually thoroughly enjoyable. And I could not say that about the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte, but I can definitely say it about Agatha so far. Miguel writes, question, what is your rating on Agatha from 0 to 10? Only fools rate things from 0 to 10. I am not a fool. I don't rate things on a number scale. The reason I do not rate things on a number scale is because a number means something different to everybody. Like I used to 7 or 8 years ago, I used to give number scores back before I grew up. I used to give number scores, but what I started realizing, like if I thought a movie was really good and really solid and very enjoyable, I'd like, yeah, 7 out of 10. That's like 3 away from being perfect. Like 7 out of 10, boom. But what would happen is I would give something a 7 out of 10, which to me, indication of a really good, solid movie. And I would inevitably get hit with, oh, John, why did you hate it? Why did you hate it so much? Why did you only give it a 7? Why isn't it a 10 out of 10? Like there's no point in giving a numerical score to something if everybody interprets that score differently. And we kind of live, especially in the online world right now, where everything is either 0 or 10. Oh, I like that. 10 out of 10. Oh, I didn't like it. It's 0. Like, and so like, yeah. So I don't give numerical scores. I tell you what I think about the movie. I tell you what I think about a show. I think it was very solid. Again, I don't put it on WandaVision tier or anything like that, or Andor, or like the first season of Mandalorian, but I would put it in that next tier down with Loki, with Mandalorian season 2, with Ms. Marvel. I think it's quite solid so far. I think it's really quite solid. So you give it whatever numerical score you want to, but I personally don't give numerical scores. Let's see. Keith is saying, do you think this makes a better TV show, or do you think it would have made a better opening to a movie so far? That's impossible to say because I have to see the whole series. Because like, you know, you watch Obi-Wan and you're like, this should have been a movie because you've seen the whole thing now, you know. But I'll say this, right now, it feels very episodic. This feels like a proper TV show. And a lot of the Disney Plus stuff has not. But for me right now, Agatha All Along feels like a proper TV show. Does not feel like, this is being stretched out, or, this is being rushed. It feels beautifully paced so far. Again, I don't love everything about it. I got some issues with it, but much, much stronger than the Acolyte, Ahsoka, Secret Invasion, Echo, you know, kind of crap that we've been getting a lot of lately. It's definitely a head and shoulders above that. So I think it's working as a show so far. Now, ask me that again once the show is finished, and maybe I'll have a different opinion then. But for right now, it feels very good, very episodic. The narrative flow is working well within the structure of episode chapters. It's working good for me so far. The comic book burrito saying Agatha should appear in Fantastic Four. You might see some people saying that. The only reason being is that Agatha Harkness, a much different version of Agatha Harkness, like an old lady Agatha Harkness, was the nanny for Franklin Richards, which is the daughter of Reed Richards and the son, of Reed Richards and Sue Storm. We are not going to have Franklin Richards in the first Fantastic Four movie. So first of all, I don't think they'd bring Agatha in anyway, but even if they wanted to, I don't think we're going to have Franklin Richards in the first Fantastic Four movie anyway. They might. I don't know that that they're not going to have him, but I doubt that they will. So I'm going to guess no. Let's see here. Take one more. FH is writing, question, how do you feel about reviews being out without the reviewers seeing the entire show? I am okay with that because all the reviews that come out have been for people who have seen the first 4 episodes. I am fine with that, provided that when people are reviewing it, they make it clear their review is based on the first 4 episodes. Right? As long as they make it clear that the reviews they're giving are based solely on the first 4 episodes, then I have no problem with that. That to me, that's perfectly ethical. That's good form. That works just fine. And you also got to remember, like back in the day, like prior to House of Cards, when it came out on Netflix, you got to remember TV critics were never given the full seasons of a show to then review. What would often quite happen is that critics would get an advanced look at an episode, and quite often through the week, they get to see the new episode a few days early. But TV critics were never given, hey, here's the entire season 6 of Arrow. That's not the way it ever worked. They never went to a TV critic and say, here's the entire season of Seinfeld. Here's the entire season of Breaking Bad. Like, they never did that before. And I don't expect them to do it now. What did used to happen was TV critics would get to have a chance to see the episode, the new episodes, maybe a day or two in advance. And that wasn't even always a given. So I don't have a problem today that critics oftentimes aren't being given the entire series. I'm okay with that. Again, as long as the person doing the reviewing, makes it very clear that they're talking about just X number of episodes and not the whole show. As long as they're doing that and we as the reader are informed, then I have no problem. All right, guys. And that will do it for this special little video of my first reactions to the new Agatha All Along. Is it as good as WandaVision so far? No. Is it as good as Andor so far? No. But I think it's a pretty solid start. I for the first time with a Disney Plus show in a while, I feel pretty happy with the first couple of episodes. And it's been a while since I've been able to say that. So that feels good. Like, who knows where they go? Again, we've said this a few times during this stream. Starting strong is easy. Maintaining it through the main body of the show and sticking the landing is hard. And so they started strong. Great. Well done. Started strong. Wonderful. Can they maintain it? Starting strong's easy. Let's see if they can carry it through. Because I can't get terribly excited until I see that they're actually able to carry that quality through episodes 3, 4, 5, and we'll see what happens. But for now, listen, got to give credit where it's due. It's a strong start. I like what I'm seeing, and I'm actually really looking forward to seeing next week's episode. Anyway, guys, jump down to the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about it so far. Again, a pretty solid start. Not their best show, but a pretty good one nonetheless. We'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm sure Ray's going to have some thoughts to give on it tomorrow as well. We've actually got a couple of really interesting stories that we're already putting together for tomorrow. So that'll do it for me for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I'll talk to you later. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.